Hey guys, it's Drew back to make another horror movie podcast. In today's review podcast, I'm going to be doing the movie called Christine that was directed by John Carpenter. And I watched this movie 2 nights ago, and I've seen it before, but I have only seen it a few times. But I'm coming on here today to do a podcast to review it for y'all. And like I said, it was directed by John Carpenter. And it's based on the novel by Stephen King. And the movie was released on December 9th, 1983. Has a runtime of 110 minutes. And it had a $10 million budget. And it made $21 million in the box office. And the actors and actresses that played in this movie is Keith Gordon. He plays the character Arnie Cunningham. John Stockwell plays his best friend Dennis, and Alexandra Paul plays Arnie's girlfriend named Lee. And then you got sub characters like Will Darnell, played by Robert Prosky, and Harry Dean Stanton as the detective. And Christine Belfer as Regina Cunningham. I think that is Arnie Cunningham's mother in the movie. And anyways, the movie, I'm already going to say it like I did with my Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 review. I give the movie a 7 out of 10. The movie is not a slasher, even though it's directed by John Carpenter, and John Carpenter is really known for his slasher movies and like Halloween. But yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10 stars. The movie's plot really is this car, which is a Chrysler 1958 Plymouth Fury, and at the beginning of the movie, you see this car going off the factory line. They just put the car together. They just built the car. And the song in the beginning, it's got a great soundtrack. It's got these old, vintage songs like what Buddy Holly sings in the song in the movie, and Little Richard and everything like that. But the main song, and it plays at the end of the movie, is Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood and the Destroyers. And you hear this song playing while you get in this view of this car, and you got this man is in there. And he kind of put his hand on the hood of the car, and the car, because this car is supernaturally possessed, and this car can rebuild itself if it gets damaged throughout the movie. But this man put his hand on the hood, and the car hood slams the man's hand on the hood. And then you got this other guy. This guy goes into this car, into the Christine. That's what the name of the car is. Because you find out later in the movie when Arnie is want to purchase the car from this man named George LeBay. And anyways, he gets in the car. He's smoking a cigar, and I guess the way he died is by carbon monoxide poisoning, because this other man opened the car door and the man fell out with a cigar in his mouth. And that's when you really get introduced to the character of Arnie Cunningham and Dennis. And Arnie is kind of like this nerdy boy. They go in I think it's their first day in high school, as a senior or something like that. And Dennis comes to pick up Arnie, and he's the nerdy guy, and his mother's coming out there and telling Dennis to turn the music down. It's like, that's noise pollution. Anyways, they're driving to school, and really their conversation is about they need to get Arnie. Dennis wants to get Arnie laid and whatever. And I think one line Arnie says I'll just beat off or something like that shit. But so that's really the whole goal of his senior year, is to get laid. So they get to school, and there's this girl in the hallway. And there's a lot of supporting characters in the movie, like Dennis's friends and whatnot. But they had this gang in the movie, like these greasers, but Arnie calls them shitters. and they kind of like bully him. And the lead gang member of this gang, this like street greaser kind of gang, like you would see in like the movie Grease. His name is Buddy Riperton. He's like the main bully to Arnie because they're like in this garage thing. Mr. Casey is the teacher's name, and they're bullying him like Buddy is with his friends, and he's got Arnie's lunch bag, and he like cuts it over with his switchblade, and you see all the food come out. I think it was yogurt or something like that. Well, Dennis comes to help him and to try to talk the guy out of it to put the knife down. And that's when Mr. Casey comes in there to break it, to scramble up or whatever. And, that's when Arnie tells the teacher that he had a switchblade, and the teacher is like, empty your pockets. And like, this guy's a major asshole, like the bully is. He emptied his pocket and the switchblade falls out. And you see him later on in the movie. He's in the movie, but he's not too much big a part of the movie. The gang is. They got like these scenes with them in it though. Like the main scenes when they really in it is when they're crashing up the car. They busting up the car in the garage, the Christine car, and they having a sledgehammer to it, and they destroying the car later on in the movie. But the car repairs itself. It has a supernatural element to it. Anyways, like the next thing that happens after that, really, Arnie and Dennis, they scum across the car, and it's all banged up, and Arnie wants to buy the car, and he buys the car for like $250 from this man, but the man didn't tell him that his brother and his wife and kids got killed in the car, and like it was choked to death in the car, and that the man's brother was obsessed with the car. And that's really what happens to Arnie. He becomes obsessed with the car. He starts to work for this man named Will Darnell. He's like his boss, and they make like a deal. It's like, if you clean up around here, you can use the spare parts to build your car back up. So he does that, but he becomes a major dickhead in the process to his friend Dennis, because somehow that car had changed his whole lifestyle. He removed his glasses. He don't wear glasses no more. He's trying to be like the cool kid in school and all this. And he gets this girl named Lee, and Dennis wanted this girl because in the library, there's a scene in the library where he went to ask the girl out, but turns out that Arnie actually got her to be his girlfriend, because there's a part in the movie where they're playing a football game in high school, and Dennis gets hurt, but before he gets hurt, he sees Arnie kissing Leigh, and I guess he was like, wow, how could he do that? I think it's because of the car that he got that girl, because this guy, he looked like a guy that couldn't get the girl or anything, but as soon as he fixed that car up, his whole personality had changed. But it wasn't for the best, it was for the worst. Because before he had the car, he was a good friend to the guy. But after the car, he was like a major asshole to his friend. It's like their friendship got torn apart by the car, along with their relationship with Lee got torn apart by that car as well, because there's a part where they're at the drive-in, and they're watching a movie in the drive-in, and the car comes alive, and it turns the radio on by itself, and when she's in the car, they making out, but it's raining, they go back into the car, and she starts to choke, because she starts to eat, I think, like a hamburger or something, and then she starts choking, and the car has locked itself where Arnie can't get in to help her. And the door is locked. They can't get in there at all, and she's in there choking with this bright light going on. And this random man out of nowhere opened the car and did the Heimlich maneuver on her and saved her. But Arnie's like, get your goddamn hands off of her. And I was like, come on, he's really trying to help your girlfriend there. Um, but anyways, I'm gonna talk about the score a little bit and then get back to the movie. The score was composed by John Carpenter and Alan Hawksworth, which worked on Halloween 3, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, 5, and 6. So John and Alan collaborated for Christine, and the soundtrack to this always remind me of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, because like there's parts where Christine's headlights turn on and it'll have the noise, the exact kind of noise like you would hear in Halloween 3. It's got like the electronical Halloween 2 vibe to it and Halloween 3 mixed in. So it's a pretty good score. John Carpenter always does great with his scores and his movies he directed. Anyways, back to the movie. So he became an asshole, the man, Arnie, and really the killings in the movie is done by the car itself, because it's a possessed car. So the car goes out, is like literally jealous over a girl getting in the car or anybody messing around with the car, and Arnie becomes obsessed with the car and keeps calling it Christine, because the man that sold him it called the car that. So that, well, and there's the parts in the movies where Arnie has all these fights with his parents, and he becomes very disrespectful to the mom and dad, because all he ever wanted is to have something for the first time in his life, because he was a nerdy guy, and since he was nerdy, the mom and the dad put him in the chess club, and he gonna go to college and all that, but he wanted to own something for one time in his life, and the mom and dad wouldn't let the boy park the car out in the driveway, so he had to park it at the Darnell's auto repair place. And that's really majority of the movie. I'm going to talk about how the people get killed. There's a few deaths in the movie. That one guy played in Friday the 13th Part 2 is in this movie. I think if you remember Friday the 13th Part 2, the main guy's friend that was at the bar that wanted to go to an after hours bar, he's in the movie. I got the list of names here, but I don't remember what his name was in the movie. I know this guy named Moochie wasn't him, so it may have been Richie. It's either Richie or Dole. Stephen Tash Stewart Charnow. It's one of them. Anyways, the way Moochie gets killed is like the car is literally chasing him on foot. He's running from the car, and he thinks it's Arnie in the car, but it's really not Arnie in the car. It's him. It's nobody in the car. The car just goes out and kills people and run them over and squish them. So the way Moochie got killed is he got trapped in like this little thing where he couldn't go nowhere, and the car just like literally drives itself into him, the squish him from like the waist down almost. So he dies, and the next time, and then you get introduced to this character named the detective Rudolph Junkins. He doesn't get killed in the movie, but he like after the guy got killed, he like interrogates kind of Arnie, but Arnie's like, get off my back and stuff. But he's a part of the movie, but he's not a major character really. The next kill, let's just say the Christine car takes out the gang members that bullied Arnie in the beginning of the movie. The Christine car like crashes into, like it's like chasing Buddy and his friend, and they like chases to a gas station where the car crashes into his car after getting out of the car. Buddy does, and his other friends are in the gas station, and the gas station catches on fire with the gasoline leaking out the car and kills the people in the gas station. And the way Buddy dies is the car is literally on fire and it still is driving itself, and it's chasing him, and it got this great shot of him just running from the car. But the car eventually catches up with him, runs him over, and then he catches on fire from the fire that was on the car while it was on fire. So that, I think, and there's one more death, or two deaths more. The death of Will Darnell. After Christine had run the car, run the buddy guy over, it drove itself back to Darnell's auto repair or whatever. And Will Darnell had opened the thing, opened the garage to let the car in, and the car is like smoking from the fire. It's been on fire. And he gets a gun out the office, and he goes over to the car and touches the car door handle, and it's hot as hell because the car just got on fire. But he sits in the car, and what happened is the car back seat starts to move forward, and he's in there, and it's keep moving forward and keep going up to where he can't breathe and he's suffocating. So that's the way he dies. I'm going to talk about the ending now. The ending takes place in Darnell's garage, and like I said earlier, the character of Arnie is really out of control. He's an asshole, and him and Dennis is in Christine, and he's driving really fast, and Dennis is talking about Leigh, she really cares about you, and then Arnie's like, I don't care about her, fuck no, I don't care about her, it's about Christine. And I think, before that, when Dennis got hurt in the football game, Arnie came visit him in the hospital twice, I believe. And but anyways, yeah, he's completely out of control at this point. So Dennis writes like, "Come to Darnell's tonight on Christine," and that's where the end of the movie takes place. They get into the garage, and Dennis and Leigh, the girl, they get into this like bulldozer type thing, and is waiting on Christine to come to the garage. And then they see this car like pull out and then back up, and they think it's Christine, and Christine does come into the garage, but it ain't Christine driving itself, it's Arnie driving the car, and he's trying to run the girl over, and he almost did, but he had flung himself through the windshield, and a big old piece of glass shard had went into his liver there, and he bled out and he died. He did. And then the car comes alive on its own to try to finish the job Arnie tried to do. So my question really is, was the car possessed like throughout the whole movie? Because Arnie could have killed the people that bullied him. He could have done that, but I always believed that it was actually the car doing that. It had to be the car doing that, because I don't think it would have been Arnie in the car while the car was on fire. So that's why I think it's Christine the whole movie, and Arnie only at the end of the movie. Well, he drives the car throughout the movie, but not to kill anybody, but he tried to kill the girl. He failed at that. He killed his own self by flinging out the windshield. And Christine comes and tries to kill Leigh again, but Dennis is in that bulldozer thing, and he's like trying to run the car over, and he's doing that, but the car is repairing itself like it can, but it was too much weight on the car, I believe, and it crushed the whole car. And at the end of the movie, they're like in this junkyard, and they fling the car, and it's like this compiled junk now, and they think they hear the radio come off, and it's like just some guy walking with a boombox or whatever. But at the end of the movie, it was so cool, like they think this car is destroyed, but the fenders of the car, it starts like to move. And they could have made a sequel to Christine, but I'm kind of glad they only did that one movie. But that ending could have predicted a sequel if they wanted to do that. And that's really the end of the movie. I really enjoy Christine. I think it's one of John Carpenter's least talked about movies, really. When you talk about John Carpenter, you're either talking about Halloween or The Thing or The Fog or something like that. You don't really mention Christine, but Christine, that's a pretty decent movie to me. That's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. And that's going to be it for this podcast. If you did enjoy the podcast, leave a like and subscribe. And I'll get back to you when I can. And my next review, I don't know what I'm going to review next, but it might be Saturday. Next Saturday I upload it. I'm trying to upload at least one podcast a week. And thanks guys for listening to the Christine podcast.